J.D. Vance stated that the European Union leadership, headed by Ursula von der Leyen, is failing to fulfill its obligations to European citizens. According to the U.S. Vice President, the Trump administration is concerned about the state of Europe, as it and the United States share a common history and culture. Vance made a similar statement during a speech at the Munich Security Conference last February. At that time, the U.S. Vice President noted that the main threat to Europe comes not from external actors, such as Russia or China, but from within, due to a departure from fundamental values like freedom of speech as well as migration policy. In that speech, Vance criticized European leaders for suppressing freedom of expression, using censorship mechanisms against so-called disinformation, and ignoring voters' views on migration issues. In response, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen spoke out in favor of censorship, stating that the authorities would resist U.S. attempts to weaken the EU's control over the Internet. British parliamentary officials have launched an investigation into Reform UK leader Farage for alleged violations of income disclosure rules. It is alleged that a crypto investor gifted the politician a large sum of money ahead of the 2024 election. The investigation is being conducted by the Parliamentary Anti-Corruption Commission. It is believed that the money was transferred by Thai investor Chakrit, also known as Christopher Harburn. There are no official figures on his wealth. The media refers to him as a billionaire. Harburn donated £5 million to Farage. His case is currently being handled by Parliamentary Commissioner for Standards, Daniel Greenberg, a lawyer known for his involvement in compiling collections and journals for colleagues, as well as for an article in which he accused Orthodox Jews of creating a socially dangerous sect for refusing to get vaccinated against the Chinese coronavirus. Farage is being investigated for violating the Code of Conduct for Members of Parliament, which requires the disclosure of financial interests acquired within 12 months prior to election. In Nigeria, Islamic militants attacked a Christian village in Plateau State. According to local residents, on May 8th, armed men carried out a nighttime raid on the Christian farming village of Ingrazongo in Plateau State. At least 11 people were killed in the attack. Among the dead were community leader Sunday HV pregnant women, Eunice Samuel and Laraba Sunday, and 3-year-old Festus Sunday, in central Nigeria. A conflict has been ongoing for many years between predominantly Muslim Fulani herders and predominantly Christian farmers over land, water, and grazing pastures. In early March, Islamic terrorists attacked the Christian village of Tehran in Benue State, Nigeria. There are approximately 50 Orthodox Christians in Tehran, 20 of whom are children. Russian traveler Sasha Khan was killed near Bryansk by a Ukrainian drone. The tragedy occurred in the village of Staraya Pugosh. The governor of the Bryansk region reported the man's death on May 13th, but Baza has determined that the victim was most likely the traveler known as Sasha Khan. He earned this nickname because he pulled a cart house behind him. The man planned to travel across all of Russia and reach Latin America. He set out on his journey from the Ryazan region. Residents of the Bryansk region welcomed him warmly and cheered him on along the way. A woman from Utah was sentenced to life in prison for killing her husband to collect insurance money. Corey Rickens laced a Moscow Mule cocktail with fentanyl, which her husband drank on the evening of March 4, 2022. Toxicology tests revealed a level of fentanyl 5 times. The lethal dose, a forensic medical expert, declared that death was caused by a drug overdose. Following an investigation, law enforcement officials stated that, on February 14th of that same year, Valentine's Day, the woman had attempted to slip fentanyl into her husband's sandwich in the same manner. He survived after being administered epinephrine. He did not survive the second attempt. The murderer had a lover, a handyman named Robert Josh Grossman. After the man's death, Grossman agreed to cooperate with the investigation. One of the prosecution witnesses claimed that the woman herself bought and even resold drugs. She also Googled what happens to deleted messages, how police and forensic experts recovered deleted data from phones, and what are the signs that someone is under federal investigation. Prosecutors argued that Rickens attempted to obtain money by murdering Eric as his life was insured for $500,000. It was reported that she owed large sums to creditors. However, Eric's life insurance policy was partially fraudulent. While he had indeed insured his life, he did not trust his wife and had not named her as a beneficiary. He had also transferred his assets to a trust managed by his sister, Kathy Rickens Benson. The killer, it appears, was unaware that she would not receive the inheritance. In Quebec, 11 elementary school teachers had their licenses revoked for promoting Islam and creating a toxic atmosphere. The teachers at Bedford School, predominantly of North African descent, were suspended from work in October 2024. In May of this year, the Quebec Ministry of Education permanently revoked their teaching licenses. The teachers were dismissed by the Montreal School Services Center. According to the ministry, the teachers incorporated Islamist religious practices into the curriculum, forced younger students to pray during class, and performed ablutions on school premises. They also altered the school curriculum at their own discretion, excluding subjects that conflicted with Islam, such as natural sciences, sex education, ethics, and religious culture. This went on for at least 7 years. A city council member from the UK Green Party posted a video of himself driving a Lamborghini, which consumes several times more fuel than the average car. 25-year-old Mohammed Baghdadi Khan recently won a seat in one of Bolton's wards. To celebrate his victory, he posted a video of himself driving a Lamborghini Huracan Spider. The car costs up to £270,000. This luxury vehicle's fuel consumption is roughly 3 times higher than that of ordinary cars. Meanwhile, the Green Party is pushing to lower speed limits on highways, raise driving taxes, and reduce the number of parking spaces in order to ultimately remove as many cars from the roads as possible. Who said council members can't drive cars like this, wrote Baghdadi Khan, likely responding ironically to accusations of hypocrisy. A black man from Florida who shot a man sitting in a restaurant with his 1-year-old son for no apparent reason has pleaded guilty. He attributes his actions to the effects of hallucinogenic mushrooms. The horrific incident took place in Miami on August 24, 2021. But the trial for the murder of 21-year-old Dustin Wakefield is still ongoing. Tamarius Davis did not kill the son and wife of the young man, who had come to Florida on vacation, simply because the man was standing in his way. After the massacre, the black man danced near his victim's corpse. The suspect has been charged with murder, attempted murder of another person whom he had previously shot without cause, and endangering the life and health of Dustin's son, who was placed in serious danger. Davis faces up to 25 years in prison. The date of his trial has not yet been announced. Anti-immigrant protests continue in the Dutch village of Loodrecht, where local residents set fire to a shelter for asylum seekers. The fire broke out after a group of 300 to 400 protesters gathered yesterday near the town hall of the settlement, where the illegal immigrants had been housed, and began throwing fireworks and Molotov cocktails at it. The 15 migrants and staff members inside the building were unharmed. Initially, authorities planned to house 110 illegal immigrants in the village, which has a population of 9,000. Last month, that number was reduced to 70 following earlier protests. Prime Minister Rob Jetten called the protesters' actions utterly outrageous, adding that the use of violence can never be justified. Minister for Asylum Bart van den Brink also described the actions as unacceptable. The U.S. Department of Justice found that, with identical grades, a black applicant was 29 times more likely to receive an interview invitation from Yale School of Medicine than an Asian applicant with the same grades. In September, it was reported that before the ban on admitting students based on skin color, more than half of black students with below-average grades for their field of study were admitted to medical schools, while only 6% of Asian students managed to do the same. After the U.S. Supreme Court banned so-called affirmative action, the situation was supposed to change. As it turned out, Yale University did not follow the new rules. When evaluating applications, it considered a range of factors and continued to discriminate against applicants on the basis of race. Federal authorities claim, in February, it was reported that only 1 in 3 American freshmen admitted to Harvard this academic year is white. Later, at the request of attorneys general from 17 states, a court denied the Trump administration's request for information on the racial composition, grades, and test scores of students admitted to universities over the past 7 years. Donald Trump claims that China has agreed to buy American oil. According to him, Chinese ships will transport it from Texas, Louisiana, and Alaska. Trump also noted that his meeting with Chinese leader Xi Jinping went better than the last one. At that time, they allegedly concluded 36 deals. Following the previous talks, which took place in the fall, Donald Trump claimed that China had agreed to purchase American energy resources. However, no agreement to that effect was ever signed.